Once we were further away, I asked Grandpa, "This is clearly old Dog Wu's doing, why not just say so?" Grandpa led the way, looked at me gently, and said, "There are things you don't understand. If it really is old Dog Wu, then the matter is much simpler. What I fear is that there might be someone else behind it." I pursed my lips, thinking Grandpa was the most powerful. If old Dog Wu couldn't do it, then surely no one in the village would dare use such methods to harm me. Grandpa smiled slightly, then turned back with a deeply troubled expression. Arriving home, my mother was cooking. Hearing the commotion, she ran out holding a spatula. Seeing me leading the female corpse through the gate, the spatula fell from her hand. Panicked, she asked, "Child's grandfather, what are you doing?" Grandpa didn't answer. He guided the female corpse into my room. After helping her lie down, I hurriedly tried to pull my hand back, but the female corpse's fingers suddenly clenched, gripping me tightly. I was so scared I burst out crying. Grandpa quickly held my shoulders and said to the female corpse, "You and Tong Tong have both been ensnared by someone's scheme. Why cause him hardship? Moreover, you've entered our home now, you're part of the family from now on. No need to frighten a child." As his words fell, the female corpse's hand really loosened. Seeing this, Grandpa sighed in relief and hurriedly led me out, locking the door. That evening, my father and Grandpa were talking in the main room. The atmosphere was heavy. They wouldn't let me listen, so I ran and lay on Grandpa's bed and unknowingly fell asleep. In the middle of the night, I suddenly felt extremely cold, as if a large block of ice was beside me. Waves of chilliness kept washing over me. I was frozen awake and reached out to feel for Grandpa. He wasn't in bed. I hurriedly opened my eyes. The door was open. A grayish-white light shone in, casting a mohu the heiying, blurry black shadow, by the bedside. "Who's there?" I immediately shrunk into the corner of the bed and simultaneously pulled the light switch cord by the bed. The light came on. At the foot of the bed, the female corpse I had led back during the day was standing stiffly upright, the black cloth still covering her head. I called for Grandpa and burrowed under the quilt. But after calling several times, no one entered the room. It seemed no one was home. However, the female corpse didn't seem to intend to pounce either. After a while, I secretly lifted a small corner of the quilt. She was exactly as before, standing stiffly, unmoving. Over half an hour passed. Once I was sure she wouldn't hurt me, and the quilt was becoming stuffy and uncomfortable, I mustered the courage to come out, shrinking into the bed corner and staring at her. After staring for a long time, I grew sleepy again. Just as my eyelids grew too heavy to lift, footsteps sounded from outside. The steps were heavy, each one as if stamped onto the ground with full force. I had just sat up but shrank back into the corner, nervously staring at the doorway. Grandpa and the others wouldn't walk like that. Moreover, a foul stench wafted in from outside. Something rotten was approaching. Suddenly, with a thump, a black figure hopped into the doorway. It was Liu Degui. I tightly covered my mouth, afraid to make a sound. Liu Degui's corpse had already rotted, the stench unbearable. Pus flowed from his eyes, his murky eyeballs fixedly glaring at me. His arms stretched out repeatedly, wanting to come in but not daring. His nose kept sniffing toward where the female corpse stood, clearly afraid of her. I was afraid of both, and didn't dare hide near the female corpse either. Liu Degui tested a few times, then suddenly hopped in. "Aha! Ha!" Sound came from his mouth as he tried to pounce on me. Just as he entered the room, the female corpse's hand moved slightly, as if trying to pull off the black cloth on her head. But it only rose halfway before dropping powerlessly again. Having followed Grandpa for a long time, I knew the black cloth was suppressing the female corpse. That's why Liu Degui wasn't afraid of her. But letting her out would be just as terrifying. Zombies have no thought. They pounce when they see people. If the female corpse became a true corpse, the first one she'd bite to death would be me. While I hesitated, Liu Degui had already hopped to the bedside. Rotten flesh kept falling off his body with each hop, disgusting and frightening. I thought to myself, better to be bitten to death by the female corpse than to be killed by the disgusting Liu Degui. Gritting my teeth, I steeled myself, jumped up, and yanked the black cloth off the female corpse's head. The moment the black cloth was removed, the female corpse stiffly turned, facing the doorway with the red veil still on her head. Liu Degui, who had been about to hop onto the bed, froze. His body leaned back fearfully, continuously retreating until he was outside the door, then he hopped and jumped away. I peered at the doorway, then looked back at the female corpse. Thankfully, she remained motionless. Then I carefully tried to put the black cloth back. But just as the cloth was about to touch her, the female corpse's hand suddenly shot up, firmly gripping my wrist. She squeezed so hard it felt like my bones would shatter. In the intense pain, I kept trying to pry her fingers loose. Her hand was as cold as a steel clamp. After a short while, the pain became unbearable, and I cried out loudly. Hearing my cry, the female corpse's hand slowly loosened. I didn't dare try to cover her with the black cloth again and shrunk back into the bed corner, continuing to watch her. As dawn approached, footsteps finally came from outside. Grandpa rushed in, covered in blood. I was startled. He was also startled by the female corpse, but quickly reacted. He picked me up, walked in front of the female corpse, and told me to lift the red